So just a quick update because, of course, again, I'm running late. Yay! And I've got to get to my Jen Colella photograph, which is in, I don't know, like an hour. Maybe a little less than that. No, probably like a half an hour. And I need to get ready, get on the subway, everything like that. But I forgot to say, I think I forgot to say, that last night at Waitress, Reba McEntire was there. And Rachel actually saw her as she was walking back to the end of the line because they have this really long line to get into the theater, even though we all already have our tickets. And so she was just waiting in line with everybody else, and people were talking with her, but I was a few people back from her, like probably about 10 people back, so I couldn't really say hi. I wanted to, but I didn't want to be like a stalker. And then I heard that she waited in line for the bathroom, and that was when people really started to get a little crazy, and so she had to be like taken out by escort or something because people were trying to get bathroom selfies and things like that, which, you know, this is why we can't have nice things. So I'm excited for my last day of BroadwayCon, and I think it's going to be awesome.
And I was writing for a lot of children's television. But you know, I had a career, and I felt pretty confident in that career. But once I started working in the theater, I was like a kid again. You know, it was new, and it was thrilling, and it was scary. And so when I came across this character, this young girl on an unnamed Caribbean island who sets off with this single-minded goal, I was so taken with her, and I felt that she was me in a way. And I really identified with her and with the story of a girl who is just goes in pursuit of her dreams, for better or for worse, you know, and there's some for worse in that story as well. But I was very taken with the idea that, you know, here I was a young woman on this island of Manhattan, trying to learn how to write for the theater, and there's this girl on this other island who is trying to learn what it means to be a grown-up and what it means to be in love, and I felt so close to her as I wrote it that I think there's a whole lot of me in that story and in that character. And now that it's back on Broadway, and now that I feel much less scared, you know, about my place in the world of theater and my place, you know, in the world, I can look back and I can admire what I did as a very young woman, you know, in 1990, which is when the show popped onto Broadway. So, you know, there's a lot of writers in what they write. There's a lot of our hearts and souls in it, and particularly with the character of T. Moon, I think. And then as far as the character of Anastasia, that was also written back then. And, you know, it started out as a movie. It started out as the movie of Anastasia, and we wrote the score. And I always felt there's so much more here. There's so much more that we're being allowed to do because, you know, in an animated movie, there are 5 songs, basically, most of the time, 5 or 6 songs at the most. It's all there's time for in those things. And so all these many years later, I got to approach that character, that young woman, with very fresh eyes and just flesh her out. And so it's not just Journey to the Past, it's In My Dreams, and it's all these Crossing a Bridge, and you know, these songs that got to express her inner self more deeply, and it was such a gift, really, to be able to get to do it now as myself now, and to look at that character and say, what can I bring to her? So.
BroadwayCon, welcome to our Anastasia, Christy Altamont.
They said I was found by the side of was really getting to see, you know, I knew I had my family and my friends. But to be meeting all of these people who really truly care about you and your well-being and not just about giving a good performance, but really caring about you as a person has been a really powerful part of me and of doing this show every day and being T Moon. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question.
I think it's beautiful, yeah.
People tell actors, oh, it's just too hard, don't do it, please. Like everyone always says when you're a kid, like, oh, it's too hard, but like everything in life is hard. No matter what it is you do, so you should do the thing you love, right? And so I think we stand here as living proof that you can do anything you want in your life.
Absolutely,
And
at any age.
At any age.
And both of those characters learned that, and both of you ladies are embodying that, and we have to thank Lynn for creating those characters that are speaking to girls and women all around the world.
You're gonna need a helping hand. She's got to learn to swim. Oh, little girl, don't you be afraid. Oh, little girl, let me be your eye. Oh, pretty thing like she will need a thing or two. And whatever you need.
I brought my brother to see this show, Come From Away. My brother is not a Broadway person. He's a longtime baseball writer, sports writer. I once took him to see the musical Follies. Great show. He appreciated it. At the end of the show, he turned to me and he said, "Gee, I'm really looking forward to getting married now."
Planes and thousands of passengers were diverted to this small community in Newfoundland after the U.S. airspace was closed after 9/11, and the people there not only welcomed them off their planes, but brought them into their halls, their churches, and then said, you know, they're comfortable there, brought them back into their houses, you washed their clothes, let them have showers, and then invited them to dinner, invited them over, and they made 7,000 lifelong friends there. And Irene and I traveled out there on the 10th anniversary, where so many of those people had returned to commemorate the friendships they had made, and to commemorate the kindness they had seen. We heard a million stories and turned it into a musical.
Sam, you can like, how right did David and Irene get it?
They are what we would say they're spot on. They absolutely nailed it, and I can say that with confidence because every Newfoundlander who comes to the show, that's one of the first things they say is they got it. Which is a big thing because we're such a very specific little tiny niche of a culture with a mix of different influences, and we've been done wrong many times in Canadian media and elsewhere. But it really captures the sense of community that exists when you live in a place that's full of small towns, which is what Newfoundland is. Every small town is its own little community, and they all really just take care of each other because they have to. And I think that's what David and Irene will say they experienced when they went to Newfoundland, when they went to Gander. They were immediately welcomed in with open arms and had their own come-from-away experience. So of course they got it right because they had that experience themselves, and they're such good friends with everybody that they've represented in this show that they've just done them justice.
I think what's also cool about this particular show in comparison to others is that in this particular climate right now where people are kind of used to being mean, it's a show about kindness and reminding us all that we have kindness in us at all times, and so we can feel the audience leaning forward and wanting that and needing that, and that is still very, very prevalent. We feel it every single night, and that feels like a wonderful gift.
Very intense connections to 9/11 that have come to see the show and you've met afterwards. Does anybody want to jump in? Gino, have you had any of those?
I think we all have met so many people, and because of the subject matter of the show, and as was spoken before, the connection that everyone has to the events of 9/11, people naturally want to share that. It's that idea of we want to talk about our story as well. And so many people come up and tell us all of their stories. Outside of the stage door, we're constantly hearing a lot of good stories too, but even the ones that weren't so good with their stories or they lost loved ones, they say thank you for kind of replacing some of the hurt that we feel with this goodness. It's something that is kind of a Band-Aid or a balm for our feelings that really helps us all feel better. Just the other night, Megyn Kelly, who's on NBC now in the Today Show, she was talking about how on 9/11, a horrible day for America, she realized what she wanted to do. She wanted to go into journalism. She'd been working as a lawyer in Chicago. So we're hearing stories about people whose lives were changed by those events, career-wise, but also just how they treat other people. So we're getting a lot of that love on stage and off stage.
And the conversation now is when you tell someone you're going to New York, they say, "Oh, you're going to the show, are you?" It's just the show.
We laugh, I would say. I mean, as we're running up the stairs when the show is over, because we don't all get to talk to each other during the show, because we all shouldn't talk to each other during the show. And we don't, Chris. We definitely do like an instant replay of everything that just happened on stage. So whatever it is, as we're running up, like I can hear Chad and Caesar all the way down in the basement. I'm with Joel and Lee. You guys are already upstairs. Q is way behind. But we replay everything and we laugh like hyenas. And then we usually go for tacos. That's how we do it.
People to get a sneak peek at upcoming Broadway shows. That is such a yes! We want to send our shows out to their Broadway debuts with love and support. So please help spread the word. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and then get your tickets. Because I am lucky enough to be back on Broadway this upcoming season.
Be
for people to oppose. What I want is simple, as far as wanting goes. I just wanna dance with you, let the whole world melt away and dance with you. Who cares what other people say? And when we're through, no one can convince us we were wrong. All it takes is you and me and a song. I just wanna dance with you, let the whole world melt away and dance with you. Who cares what other people say? And when we're through, no one can convince us we were wrong. All it takes is you and me and a
Plug into number, slam to the cheap seats, rock out and pump your fist to the beat. We're back down, taking no prisoners, breaking down DuPont Street. Push on your torn up jeans and rock t-shirts, squeeze my hairy ass in the leather band. Get on the clock and crank up the speakers, see if we can give it one more chance. Get the band back together, get the boys who rock to rock again. We're getting the band back together, rocking a place from a place that remembers when some punks from us younger. Lit the sky with too much reverb.
Mother, Mother Ocean, I have heard you call.
I've heard you call.
On your waters, since
I was 3 feet tall.
you've seen it all. You've seen it all.
So this is my goodbye to BroadwayCon. Hopefully you can hear me. And I am going now to Cruel Intentions. And hopefully I'll get there on time, get to see Karina, and it'll be a good time. Goodbye to BroadwayCon. So I'm going to keep this short because I am almost at the end of this memory card and I don't feel like changing it. So I've got like literally a minute to wrap up my entire BroadwayCon experience, which probably won't happen, but I did want to say that Cruel Intentions was amazing. It was so much fun. We were sitting there and we were like having fun with our table mates. I was hanging with Karina. We were all kind of mouthing the words because it's rude to sing along in a Broadway show, even this is off Broadway. But it was such a fun experience. And so if I put this up in time, I know it's open until March. go and see Cruel Intentions. You will not regret it, especially if you're in the like late 20s, in your 30s. It's an amazing, amazing experience. So I'm going to go to sleep, and this is my last day of BroadwayCon and my last vlog, and it's been an amazing, amazing experience here in New York, and I can't wait to come back. Yay!